Hi everyone! So today we're going to be talking about how to make a circle skirt to your own measurements. And in this video I'll be walking you through how to take your measurements and then how to actually draft the pattern that fits you perfectly. So I have a circle skirt here on the mannequin, and I will tell you that it's a very simple pattern to start with. And the reason I say that is that there's only two pattern pieces involved, and you basically have your waistband and then you have the skirt. So I'll start by giving you an overview of what the pattern looks like, and then we'll go into actually taking our measurements. So let's quickly go over what the two pattern pieces involved are. You basically have your waistband, which looks like a rectangle, and then you have a skirt piece in the bottom. The circular shape on the top is going to be your waist. The circular shape on the bottom is going to be your hemline, and the distance between the waist and the hem is going to be your length. So we're going to be putting in our own waist measurement, our own length measurement, and drafting these two pieces. The next thing I want to talk about is how to accurately measure your waist. So for this you're going to need a piece of elastic, and you want to go ahead and stand up. Take this elastic and tie it pretty snug around your waist, and go ahead and make a double knot. Now you're going to notice that if this elastic is pretty tight, it's going to want to find its way to your natural waistline, which is the narrowest part of your torso. And if you don't have an elastic handy, then you can just use your hands. Put your hands around your waist and bend from side to side. And you're going to notice that your hands are kind of in a dip. Now this dip is a measurement you need for your natural waistline. So the very next thing we're going to do is take our waist measurement, and to show you how, I'm going to be using my miniature dress form one more time. So now after you've determined where your natural waistline is, you take a soft measure or a measuring tape. You're going to put it around the smallest part of the torso or your waistline, and you're going to take a pretty snug measurement, okay? And then go ahead and write that measurement down. Okay, so now that we have recorded our natural waist, the next thing we need to do is some calculations so we can move on to the pattern drafting. Okay, so the very next thing we're going to be looking at is the cheat sheet that's available on my website, and I will include a link to this in the description box. Basically what you have here is a technical sketch of what the skirt looks like, and then you have two tables down below which allow you to plug in your own waist measurement, your length measurement, and also what's your desired height of the waistband. And then you can basically use this table to do some calculations, and these calculations will be used to actually draft the pattern, which we will do next. We're ready to go ahead and draft our waistband at this point, and for this you need your cheat sheet and your measurement A, B, and C. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and draft the waistband, and for this you need basically your A, B, and C measurement, and these will come from your cheat sheet. Now keep in mind that for the purpose of this tutorial I am drafting on a small scale. I won't be using the exact measurements for myself, but when you're drafting this, just make sure you use your A, your B, and your C. So the very first thing we're going to do is go ahead and draw a line, straight line, that is the measurement A. And then we're going to draw another line, which is measurement B, at a right angle to A. So this is going to be perpendicular to the first line. And all you want to do now is go ahead and complete this rectangle by filling in another line A and another line B. So what you have so far, you have measurement A over here, from here to here. You also have A from here to here. And then you have your measurement B from here to here, and here to here. Okay, so far so good. The last thing we need to draft on here is our fold line, which is basically going to be your C measurement. And it's basically half of B. So if B were to be 6 inches, then C would be 3 inches down. So take your B measurement and calculate your C measurement, and then go ahead and draft that. And the way you're going to draw that is with a dotted line. And the reason we're doing this is because it's a fold line. This is where we're going to fold our fabric. So it's always a dotted line. So go ahead, put fold line on here. Alright, so keep in mind that we have seam allowance included in this pattern because it was included in our calculation. So we're pretty much done with pattern making, and the very last thing we need to do is add some notations on the pattern so it's easy for us to understand. So the first thing we're going to do is add a grain line, and in this case your grain line is going to be parallel to your line B, so go ahead, draw that in. We're also going to put the name of the pattern, so you're going to put here straight waistband, and also how many of these are to be cut. So cut 1 on fold. Okay, so we're basically talking about cutting on fold on this line B, so we're going to add our final notation, which is a fold, which looks like this. It's basically just 2 arrows, and we're going to put here fold. So at this point we're pretty much done with the pattern making for the waistband, and now we're going to move on to drafting the skirt. At this point we're ready to go ahead and draft our circular skirt, and for this you're going to need your measurement A and B from your worksheet. So the next thing we need to do is go ahead and draft our circle skirt, and for that we need 2 measurements. We need measurement A and measurement B, which is coming from your cheat sheet. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and draw a straight line. You don't have to measure it to begin with, just go ahead and draw a straight line. And then I'm going to draw a second line which is perpendicular to the first line. So this is at a 90-degree angle. So far so good. The next thing we want to do is go ahead and locate your measurement A on your ruler and mark it on the first line. The next thing you want to do is go ahead and start pivoting your ruler without letting it slide, and go ahead and start marking dots. And this is going to go ahead and give you a circular shape. So I'm going to keep pivoting and marking all the way to the other line. Next thing I can do is go ahead and connect the dots. You can either choose to freehand this, or you can use a French curve if you have one. And this is your waistline, so I'm going to go ahead and put waist over here. The next thing we're going to be doing is locating the measurement B on your ruler, and starting at the inner circle, we're going to start marking measurement B. So now you want to move your ruler to continue taking the measurement B from the waistline and go ahead and mark dots. So the last thing I'm going to do here is go ahead and connect the dots for the hemline, and I have my circular hem. So I'm going to go ahead and put the words hem over here. Now this is your side seam. I'm going to go ahead and put side here, and this line is going to be your center front / center back. And the reason it's the center front and the center back is because you're going to cut 2 pieces of fabric from this pattern, and one's going to become the front and one is going to become the back. The next thing we need to do here is add seam allowance. Unlike our waistband, we do not have seam allowance included in this pattern. Now we do have a hem allowance on the bottom since that was in our cheat sheet, but we need to go ahead and add seam allowance on your waist and on your side. You do not need seam allowance on the center front, center back, because this is going to be cut on fold. So go ahead, take your ruler or your measuring gauge and go ahead and add the seam allowance. You're going to be adding a 1/2 inch seam allowance on the waist and a 1/2 inch seam allowance on the side. So at this point we're pretty much done with creating our pattern. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the final pattern in red so you can easily see. Now the very last thing we need to do is go ahead and add our notations. So we're going to be adding a seam line. Your seam line in this case is going to be parallel to your center front or center back. You want to name this pattern, so this is a circle skirt. And you're going to cut 2 on fold. So the last thing we need to do is add our fold notation, which would look like this. And at this point we are pretty much done drafting our circle skirt, and now we're going to move on to the next step. This pretty much concludes our video on how to make a circle skirt to your own measurements. And if you're interested in learning how to cut the fabric from this pattern and how to sew it up to make your own skirt, then please subscribe to my channel because I will be adding a video on that shortly. And if you make your own pattern using this tutorial, then I would love to hear from you. So please include your comments below, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!